We talk about donating to community groups. We had $300,000 in a reserve account just a few years ago, and that's gone. When you go through your reserve, because you can't control your spending, it's hard to support community groups. Each department has sufficient funds to accomplish their required training. That does exist. The mayor and council, we do that on our own dime. I've attended Pocatello meetings on my own dime. That's part, I think, of the requirement of us as a council, is to do what we need to do. Martin talked about the income from the mayor and council. This is a pretty much volunteer position already, and if we cut it in half, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But the council, they do have opportunities to get training. They just have to do it on their own dime. And when I proposed the budget, I kept it that way. I paid for my own training, and I expect that same thing from the council. I do have some fundamental differences. We talked about a $40,000 bond for capital expenditures. And what that is we're trading capital expenditures for costs, soft costs to the city. Soft costs meaning employee costs, costs that are controllable. We have gone years and years without investing money into the city, into the streets. This year our budget was $50,000 into the city, or $50,000, right?
To gravel and road oil.
To gravel and road oil. Our requirement's $150,000. We made a change to the police department to put $50,000 into that gravel and road oil. That's the reason why, if you look out there, and a bunch of you have gotten letters, we are going to be gravel and road oiling and maintaining. You invest money into capital expenditures and then you don't upkeep it, it costs a lot more to fix it up. And the idea of trading capital expenditure money for employee money, I think, is wrong. The city has obligations and constitutional requirements and services that the city must provide. When we begin to trade those services for employees, then we fail to understand the purpose of the employees. The services are what the city is required to offer. And when the city offers those services, they have to have employees to do that. But our job is not to employ what we don't have to have. And so, I think it's great. One example, the Parks and Rec, they have moved to where they are completely self-funded. Completely self-funded. They don't take a penny from our tax dollars. They've got 64 baseball teams coming in this weekend. Okay? That is a demonstration of a community group who's trying to do things with the support of the city. The city continues to support them with parks and with liability insurance and with what the city's required to do. The industrial park, we get $7,500 a year in payments on a building, the Bear Lake Stone building. That building was financed by the city for Bear Lake Stone, and that $7,500, it was financed from reserve account. And I feel like that $7,500 in payments should not go back into the general budget, but should be diverted back into a reserve account. The only way we're going to build a reserve account again is to put money there. We have struggled for 3 years, and this is our 4th year of saying, you know what, let's see how much we can keep spending so that one day we can hope that our revenue will catch up and get ahead and we can start saving money. I sell insurance. I have no steady paycheck. If I sell a lot one month, I get more. If I don't sell very much one month, if I take a vacation, I get less. What I don't do is spend the same amount every month and expect someone else to cover my difference because I don't have the funds to cover that. And I think when we look at doing that, with the industrial park and with that $40,000 bond, I think we're going the wrong way. I met with a couple gentlemen this past couple weeks to discuss our community. One of them had a great conversation with him. He described our community as what they call a non-industrial community, meaning that we have no industrial business that injects 30-year-olds with their families into our economy. We go through a cycle, and in that cycle it ranges from a younger age population to an older age population, and then it'll range back down to a younger age. And right now he calls the position we're in a naturally occurring retirement community. Our community is aging, and it's moving to a Social Security income, which, as everyone knows, is a fixed income. Since 2012, our population has dropped 8.9%. And along with that drop, our median income, our average per capita income, has dropped 10%. Now, over that 12 years, our taxes have gone up 3% steady every single year. And yet the median income has dropped 10% over that same amount of time. And now we're proposing another 3% and a $40,000 bond for an aging population with a fixed income and a reducing income per capita. I struggle with the idea that any one of you have gone to a city councilman and said, Mike, I want to pay more taxes. I struggle with the idea that any one of you has said that. And yet, every one of you has said, I want, I want, I want. Tonight, 2 weeks ago, all we heard was the praises of the police department. Tonight, all we hear is the praises of the economic development. And yet, not one of you in your praises had said, please raise my taxes to cover that cost. And so it tells me, along with the hundreds of people who have shown up to my office the last week, and David can verify, today I spent about 1 hour on insurance. The rest of it I spent here. I was at my office till 6:30 tonight. Not one person has ever said to me, please raise my taxes. And yet, everyone that's come to my office has said, please don't raise my taxes. I have mayors who have come to me, previous mayors, George Lane, came to me and said, you are doing the right thing. Do not raise taxes. Now, 2 weeks ago, we came to an understanding and a decision that we were going to go ahead and do the 3% raise, which gives us $25,000. For a long time, I was against that. I feel like my platform and the people's choice was organized and manageable way to manage the finances of the city. They voted for management. They did not vote for want. And I feel like for us to accomplish what we were voted into office to do, that is what we have to do. Our job is to manage what we have, not continue to take from the people. Not one person has come to me and said, please raise my taxes. Not one. Okay? If we trade capital expenditure money, $40,000, to pay employees and then ask for a bond, next year, all of you guys are going to come in here and sit down, and we're all going to be right here, and we're going to say, we have to do a bond again if we want capital expenditures, because last year, we wouldn't trim the fat. Instead of saying, this is what we need, this is our fighting weight, this is what our city can give to us, instead of saying that, we said, let's get on the wagon one more time and hope that the wheels don't fall off by next year, so maybe next year we can cut. Maybe next year we can figure out that the economy has boomed and everyone's willing to increase taxes 10% or do a bond or other things. We have a responsibility as a council, and it's not easy, and it's not nice, and it's not fun, and I've stressed, and I've gone sleepless nights, and I've worried, and I've changed my mind, and I've called up Dan and said, Dan, I'm changing my mind again. Come visit me after work today. And I've called, and I've talked to people, and I've said, where do we need to be? Where do we want to be? We want to be a viable community. You know, on Facebook, there's some people who talk about budget cuts and effects that they're having on the community today, and yet that's last year's budget, last year's mayor, last year's council. They aren't even complaining about the correct thing. They aren't even talking about the correct cuts. They aren't even making a viable argument with what they're discussing on Facebook. And yet, and we have a responsibility to the voters, to the whole entire community, to manage successfully the money they've brought. Not to sit there and ask for more. As their income drops, as our population lowers, to keep saying more, more, more. Costs are going up. That's the nature of the game. You buy gas, it's higher. Your food, it's higher. Everything's higher. And yet, somehow, somewhere, we think that the city's money really doesn't affect us, or really doesn't affect the widow next door who's living on Social Security. I say it does because they've come and talked to me. And when we trade capital expenditure money for employees, what we're doing is we're saying next year we want all of you to come back and say, please don't do it again. And we're going to sit there and struggle, and we're going to sit there and argue, and we're going to sit there and try to figure out, where am I going to cut the money? Where are we going to cut the money? Should we do another bond? Should we charge everybody else a little bit more money to live in Montpelier? I can't do that. I can't do that. I am recommending that we don't take that $40,000 bond. I am recommending that we take that $7,500 money from an industrial park and stick it back in the reserve account where it goes. The COPS grant is $14,000. That, you know, first thing I heard about that, I thought, great, that'll save us $14,000. What does that do? That makes us next budget cycle have to figure out where $14,000 can come from. It doesn't save us money. It bandages the problem that's still bleeding underneath the bandage, and one day we're going to have to take that bandage off before we can stitch it up and fix it. That $14,000, we don't want to use that money. All it does is next budget cycle say, come up with that $14,000 again. It doesn't fix anything. What we need to do is fix things. We need to get down to our fighting weight. Don't do the COPS grant. The $7,500 from the industrial park, stick it back into the reserve account. Yeah, it's only $7,500, but when a pump goes out and John says we need $10,000 for a pump, I sure would like to have $10,000 in that reserve account so we can buy a pump. Rather than going out and talking to a farmer and saying, give us your piece of crap for as cheap as you can. He gives it to us. Twice as much money to run. Our cemetery is twice as much money to run. Why? Because we don't have any money. And we went to a nice farmer and said, give us your cheapest piece of crap, and he did. That's horrible. Horrible. $7,500 back into it. We want to be able to donate to community groups again. I want to be able to donate to community groups again. If we aren't managing our funds, none of us will donate to community groups again. Those things are required. Those things will take cuts. I'm willing to donate half of my salary. Half of my salary. Okay? That I get, let's see, how much is it? $400 a month. What? $450. Thank you. That's $225. I'm going to give up. I would ask each one of you to stop by Leslie and give $200. $25 less than I'm willing to sacrifice for the city. My time's not going to be shortened. My time's not going to decrease. I'm still going to spend all the time that I can. You know, I've gotten in trouble with my wife. I don't tell anybody no when they want to come visit me in my office. I don't tell anyone no. A couple times I've had to say, I've got a client here, you got to come back in 15 minutes or call me later. That's not going to change. I'm willing to, and I hope every one of you would be willing to. We want, so let's do it. Martin, I'm willing to vote for that, $225. And I would hope that everyone else would really tax donation. It's taxable. It's taxable. You can donate that and it comes straight off your taxes, straight off your adjusted gross income, non-taxed. What a blessing to each one of you. You know, everyone in here said, I want. Let's do it. Let's want. Leslie, you can collect the checks on the way out or throughout the month. I'm okay with that because that's what I'm willing to do, and I'm not going to ask for that to be changed. I'm going to say, I will vote half of that salary can go to that. I'm fine with that. I'll continue to do that because I want to have a reserve account. I want to have training. I want to have community group support. I want to be able to donate to the Senior Citizen Center. You know, I never ate at the Senior Citizen Center. And my wife, the great person she is, she said, you better start supporting him. So we go there once a month. Well, it's not a lot. But I eat at my office, except on Fridays. So my wife and I go there once a month. Anybody can go there once a month. You want to support the community groups? Support the community groups. The problem is we don't go to the city and say support the community groups if we're not willing to. We heard a great talk from Joanne. That was the best talk. How can we give, or how can we ask for something in return we're not willing to give? It's a crazy idea, but that's what we heard tonight. That's what we heard 2 weeks ago, and I don't agree with it. And my request is to make those changes. Let's get responsible. If we take some cuts, let's take some cuts. You know, when I have a slow month and my kids say they want to go out to eat, I say, great, we're going to Mama's Diner. You know, maybe we all should do that.